The topic is asynchronous transfer mode, or what we call the ATM. So 1 hour lecture. So we will pay our attention for this lecture. I am going to discuss about the ATM. So under this 1 hour lecture, I will focus on this few points. This is the lecture outline. If you go through this slide, you can get the idea what I want to cover during this 1 hour. Introduction of the ATM and some features, and then kind of comparison in between the ATM and TDM, and then some ATM devices and interfaces I will discuss. And then they have used some format we call cell, so I will explain the cell structure. So just go through this slide. So this is the outline what I'm going to cover during this 1 hour. So this ATM concept was developed early 1990. This ATM name is given to the connection-oriented network technology that is intended for use of both local area and wide area networks. So basically this ATM deploy in the local area and the wide area networks. An ATM was designed to permit high-speed data switching. So keep in mind that this ATM was designed to permit the high-speed data switching. To achieve this high-speed data speed, this ATM uses special purpose hardware and software techniques. So it's kind of high-speed data switch. To achieve this speed, this ATM uses the special purpose hardware and software techniques. This ATM, the initial network consists of one or more high-speed switches, and that each connect to the computer and the other ATM switches. And then secondly, the lowest layer of this ATM network use the fixed size frame called the cells, because each cell is exactly same size. In this ATM, they use the cell to transmit the information. This cell size is fixed. There's an occupied number of bytes for this cell. And this ATM switch hardware can process cell quickly. So this cell have a header and some field based on the information. Due to this less weight of this cell, the switches can easily switch and can provide the higher transmitting speeds for the data. So if you pay the attention for this ATM cell, I will explain it later on. It has 53 octet long bits in the cell. It's kind of connection oriented. This ATM differ from the packet switching network described in previous lecture because it offers the connection oriented service. Before the computer connect to this ATM switch, can send the call and connection must be established manually or must first interact with the switch to specify the destination. The interaction is analogous to placing the telephone calls like a traditional phone system. The requesting computer specify the remote computer address and wait for the ATM switch to find the path through the network and establish the connection. I am explaining some features. If this remote computer reject the request, does not respond, or ATM switch between sender and receiver cannot currently establish the path, the request established communication failed. So once the connection is succeed, then the local ATM switch chooses the identifier for the connection and passes the connection identifier to the computer. Along with this message, inform the computer of success. This computer uses connection identifiers when sending or receiving the cells. When it finished using the ATM connection, the computer again communicates with the ATM switch to request that the connection is broken. So this is the process. Then switch then disconnect the two computers. This disconnection is equivalent to hanging up the telephone at the end of the telephone call, as you know. After this disconnection, the computer cannot communicate until they establish a new connection. So keep in mind that I explained the process. This ATM, as I mentioned previously, is kind of connection-oriented, high-speed, low-delay switching and transmission technology that uses the short and fixed size of packets called the cell transport information. So I just explained the process, how they do the communication. So then we will see one by one for these functionalities. As I mentioned previously, I give some point for you to get the idea about the ATM. So these are the key features we can identify in the ATM networks. Basically, they use the packet switch and connection oriented, and with the support of these header files, we can configure the virtual circuits. This fixed packet size, as I mentioned previously, and allow fast hardware switching. If your packet size is fixed, then you can easily accomplish the hardware switching very fastly. As I mentioned previously, inbuilt in this packet, there's no any synchronization or there's no any proper coordination, just they use the asynchronous nature to transmit the packets to the destinations. It's kind of integrated service and does not provide any error control or flow control. That's the issue. Does not provide any error control or the flow control. It's kind of disadvantage. So when you think about the benefit of this ATM, when you experience, if you have experience, you can feel this one. Otherwise, you have to remember it. But keep in mind that there are some benefits. For example, combined benefits of circuit switching and the packet switching. So you have a chance to accomplish this packet switching and circuit switching also if you're interested in this ATM. As well as the bandwidth, what we call the dynamic bandwidth for the bursty traffic. And smaller header, I will show the frame format. When you see the frame format, you can identify that the header size is very small and can handle the mixed network traffic very efficiently. So these are some common benefit we can experience. We can see this ATM connection in LAN and WAN architecture. And this ATM is obey with the international standards also. So if you pay attention for the time division multiplexing, especially in the synchronous methods, we have to synchronize these packets. Especially in the TDM, as you know, precisely synchronization mechanism is compulsory if you want to deploy this TDM techniques for the channel access. So if you use this TDM, as you know, you are assigned some time for the user, and during that synchronous time period, users have to put their information to the buckets. And if you don't have, then that time slot remaining nothing. So empty bus or empty time slots. For example, you can see here, A and B put in some information of the multiplexer. So during that assigned time period, you can see here, there's a slot. So if you mask this time slot or in between these users, and when you start transmit, you can see here, you can experience here, there's the waste of time slot. In here, the reason is you had to put some information to here, but you didn't add any information to this time slot. Therefore, when you max it, you can see here, this time slot is not utilized. This issue is here in the time division multiplexing. The reason is there's a precise synchronization technique in between sender and receiver. Therefore, sender and receiver has to put their bits or byte or whatever information during the given time slot. So if you don't have, then you can see here that time slot is not utilized in the TDM. But in ATM, we have different mechanism. We have solution for that one. They assign this time slot based on the demand. In the ATM, they assign these time slots based on the demand of the sender or receiver. If you compare this TDM with the ATM, ATM, as I mentioned previously, asynchronous time slots are available on demand, as I mentioned previously. These time slots are assigned for the sender based on the demand, and with information identifying the source of the transmission contain the header of the ATM cell. So your ATM cell have a header, and based on that header, they can identify the source of the transmission. Because of this asynchronous nature, keep in mind that ATM is more efficient than the synchronous technology such as TDM. The reason is the time slots are assigned based on demand. If you feel that nobody's request the channel, then you are not getting permission to access the channel. Something like that. Therefore, it's kind of efficient method compared with this precisely synchronized techniques like a TDM. As example, just assume here you are getting some resources to access the channel. At that time, this channel and this channel have two data stream or cells, but here you don't have. Therefore, in this ATM mechanism, you are not getting a permission to waste this time slot. So they have a mechanism, they assign these time slots based on the demand. If you not request, then you are not getting permission to waste this time slot. Therefore, in the TDM at the channel 2, opportunity to send the data, since the channel 2 does not have any data to send, that time slot is assigned for the channel 3. So if you don't have anything to transmit, then this ATM multiplexer gives that opportunity for the another channel, or will give that opportunity or time slot or assign for the another channel. So that's the idea. Therefore, they utilize this empty time slots also, especially in this ATM. Then we will see the devices what are related to this ATM. So you can see that ATM switches are there. These switches are responsible for cell transmit through the ATM network. In addition to that, you can see some ATM endpoints contain the ATM network interfaces adapter, like a workstations, routers, LAN switches, etc. So those are main devices we can identify in the ATM networks. In addition to that, you can see some ATM network interfaces. The first one we call the UNI, second one we call the NNI. This UNI we call the user network interface that connect the ATM end system to the ATM switch. this NNI, or we call the network interface, that connect the two ATM switches. To connect the two ATM switches, you had used the network interface. To connect the ATM and the end system to the ATM switch, you had used the UNI, or we call the user network interface. By these interfaces, you have to connect the appropriate devices or switches. We'll go to the next slide. Now I will pay my attention for the ATM cell. It's kind of fixed size of unit, 5 octant header with having a 48 octant of information field, altogether 53 octants of bytes in the cell. This kind of small cell may reduce the queuing delay for higher priority cells. As well as if your frame size or the cell size is fixed, then it will facilitate for the more efficient switching, especially in hardware wise. If it is changed, then very difficult to manage for the switches. But if you have a fixed size of cell, then switching you can accomplish easily with the simple hardware mechanism. Now go to another area we call the ATM virtual connections. ATM virtual connections. Since these ATM networks are connection oriented, sending data requires first send the packet to the setup connection. As the setup packet, when it's way through the subnet, all the routers on the path make entry in their internal tables noting the existence of the connection and reversing whether the resources are needed for it. This connection are often called the virtual circuit. In analogy with the physical circuits used within the telephone system, the most ATM network also support for the permanent virtual circuits, which are permanent connection between two hosts. They are similar to the lease line telephone world. As you know, it's like a similar features you can experience compared with this lease line telephone networks. This each connection, temporary or permanent, has a unique connection identifier. With the support of this unique connection identifier, they configure these virtual circuits. Once this connection has established, either side can be transmitting data. These ATM connections allow multiple logical connection to multiplex over the single physical interface. There are two types of ATM connection. First one we call the virtual circuit, or we call the virtual channel connections, VCCS. The basic unit which carries a single stream of the cell in or to from a user to user. You can see here, this is the definition for that one. The virtual channel connection, the basic unit which carries a single stream of cell in or to from user to user. If you pay attention for this figure, you can get some idea. You can see here there are some virtual channels. You can see some virtual channels. This red color line shows the virtual channels. These virtual channel connections which carries single stream of the cell in order to from user to user. In addition to that, you can see here collections of virtual circuit. It's kind of collections of virtual circuit. You can see here collections of virtual circuit, collections of virtual circuits. These collections of virtual circuits we define as virtual path connections. In ATM, you can find these type of virtual connections, virtual channel connections and the virtual path connections. Basically, virtual channel connection, keep in mind that it carries a single stream of cell in order to from user to user. But in this virtual path connection, it's kind of virtual channel connection, and they transmit that as a bundle, kind of tunnel, collections of virtual channels. You can experience that in the ATM, these two type of virtual connections in the network. Now we will see how this ATM switch-in operations function in. Just assume you have two hosts here and here, and you might have ATM switch here. So then the cell is received across a link with the non-virtual path identifier, and they have some virtual circuit identifier. For example, you can see here, this one have a virtual circuit identifier as the 63, and it has a virtual path identifier also too. With the support of this VCI and VPI, you can forward your cell into the switch, and then switch look up the local translation table. It stores some table. That one we call the local translation table. Determine the output point or outgoing point, or what we call the ports. We define some ports, so that translation table determine the outgoing ports and the new VPI and the VCI values of the link. Then during this receiving part, they identify this cell, and then once you forward that one, again you can see here this local translation table assigns some another different VPI and VCI to forward that one to the corresponding destination. And then this switch is retransmit the cell on that outgoing link with the appropriate connection identifier. As I mentioned previously, this switch is adding some connection identifier to forward that one for the corresponding destination. To achieve this one, it has some lookup table or lookup local translation table. With the support of this table, that cell will forward to the corresponding destination. So here they define the receiving interface and transfer interface also. This slide represents the ATM reference model. It's almost parallel to that OSI model, but some layers are merged, something like this. Just look what are the layers, you can get some idea. This ATM has its own reference model, actually different from this OSI model, and also different from the TCP/IP model also. Keep in mind that this is a little bit different with the OSI and the TCP/IP model, as you learned during the last lecture. It consists of 3 layers of physical ATM and ATM adaptation layer. This physical layer actually deal with the physical medium, some voltages, the bit timing, and the various other issues. ATM does not prescribe the particular set of rule, but keep in mind that the ATM cells can be sent on a wire or fiber by themselves, but they can also be a package inside the payload of other carrier system. In other words, ATM has been designed to independent of transmission medium. These ATM layers deal with the cell and the cell transport. It defines the layout cells and that tells what the header field mean. It also deals with the establish and the release of the virtual circuit, and congestion control is also located here. Because most of the application do not want to work directly with the cells. A layer above the ATM layer has been defined to allow the users to send packet larger than the cell. The ATM interfaces segment these packets and transmit the cell individually and reassemble them at the other end. This layer is we call the ATM adaptation layer. ATM adaptation layer. Keep in mind that most of the application do not want to work directly with the cells. A layer above ATM layer has been defined to allow users to send packets larger than the cell, and this ATM interface segment, these packets transmit the cell and reassemble them at the other end. This layer we define as the AAL, or we call the ATM adaptation layer. ATM adaptation layer. This ATM functionality corresponds to the physical layer and part of the data link layer of the OSI model. It has a 3 plane, as I mentioned previously, user, which is responsible for user information transfer, and control layer responsible for generating the managing and signal requests, and management layer provide the plane of management and layer management and the coordination functionalities. Coordination functions. When you pay attention for the ATM layers, you can see here how these endpoints are the ATM switches are linked as a layers wise. With the support of the physical medium, we can connect these physical layers. As you see here, this physical layer you can connect. These physical layers are connected. This ATM switch have a 2 layers, ATM layer and physical layer. Just to know, just look at this slides, then you can get some idea how they connect one endpoint to another endpoint. With the support of this ATM switch, you can connect these 2 endpoints in the network. So if you pay the ATM layer, you can see here ATM layers. Here you can identify the ATM layer. Here you can see the ATM layer, and here also you have ATM layer. So we will see, or we will just read about the ATM layer and the physical layers. If you pay attention for the ATM layer, it's roughly analogous to the data link layer of the OSI model. When they combine with the ATM adaptation layer, it provides the routing, traffic management, switching, and multiplexing services, and responsible for simultaneous sharing of the virtual circuits over physical link and passing cell through the ATM network. And this ATM layer uses, as I mentioned previously, VPI and VCI information in the each ATM cells. If you pay attention for the physical layer, you can see a physical layer is analogous to the or equivalent to the physical layer of the OSI model. The main function is converting cell into the bit stream and controlling the transmission and receiving of bit of the physical medium. Basically, in this physical layer, based on the fiber distributed data interface or synchronous optical networking, it's kind of it can manage the higher data rates. Therefore, this physical connection basically deploy. Just give me 1 minute. I can go. As I mentioned previously, this physical layer basically laid based on the fiber distributed network or the optical network. We call the SONET. It can manage the higher data rates compared with the wired connections. We have noticed that another layer we call the ATM adaptation layer. ATM adaptation layer. Unlike the early two-dimensional reference model, the ATM model is defined to be three-dimensional, as I shown previously. The user plane deal with this, with the data transport, flow control, error correction, and other functions. In contrast, the control plane is connected with the connection management, and the layer and plane management function relate to the resource management and interlayer coordinations. The physical and ATM adaptation layer are each divided into sub-layers. We can divide into sub-layers. One at bottom that does work to convergence a sub-layer on the top of the provide, and then proper interface to the layer above. The function of the layer and sub-layer are different. Therefore, we can layer this functionality separately. It's roughly analogous to the data link layer of the OSI model, and it allows to access packet network to connect the ATM facilities and then accept the transmission from upper layer packet data and map them into the fixed size of ATM cells. And these transmission can be any data rates. At the receiver, this processes, reverse and segment are reassembled to their original formats. So you can see some functions for the ATM adaptation layers. Some of the connections are connection oriented and some of the connections are connectionless. So just to know, just read this table. What are the things they are provided? This ATM adaptation layer is here. Okay, just look here. This is the ATM adaptation layer. You can see here, this is the adaptation layer. These are some functionals they are providing. Just to know. Then we will pay our attention for the ATM applications. So where they are deployed, where these ATM are visible, we call the applications. The first one, ATM vans. Here, ATM is mainly used to connect the LANs or WAN together. The router between ATM networks and other networks serves as an endpoint. This router has two stacks of protocols. One belongs to the ATM and other belongs to the other protocol. The second one, ATM LANs. You can find the ATM vans and you can find the ATM LANs also. With the support of this ATM technology, you can maintain higher data rates around 155 to 622 megabit per second speeds. This ATM switch will replace the traditional Ethernet switches and switched LAN. The software modules would be needed. So if you want to upgrade your traditional Ethernet network, you can replace these traditional switches or Ethernet switches with the support of the ATM switches. In addition to that, you have to do some software upgrade also to match or to compatible these operations. The third application is multimedia virtual private network and managed services. Just read this slide, then you can get some idea. The fourth one is internet backbone. The internet backbone also you can develop, or you can develop that infrastructure based on the ATM networks. In addition to that, last one, the residential broadband networks. This ATM is a network infrastructure choose for carrying the establishing the residential broadband services driven by the need of higher scalable solutions. Especially the residential broadband networks also deploy based on these ATM switches or ATM foundations. So this is the end of the lecture today. I have to cover. The today topic was the ATM or ATM networks.